Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome to a very special interview with my beloved wife and partner. And for 38 years, her name is Janna Sophia Hill. And I'm interviewing her today because she has taught me much in regards to being a parent who cares for children in a conscious manner and a very loving manner. She is stellar in that regard. And so this interview will be an integral part of Children's Corner because there are a number of you who are parents or grandparents or both, and we are always aspiring to be the best we can be for our children so that they can take the mantle of this life privilege forward and expectedly enhance our communication with our fellow man and take care of our beloved planet. So Janna, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
And thanks for being my partner.
Alrighty.
Yes. So I have a few questions, as I always do in our interviews, and so I will start with the very first one, and that is, Janna, how did your path unfold to reveal your passion for guiding children? What happened?
Yes. Well, I have always loved children. I couldn't wait to take my first babysitting class so I could take care of children, and my dolls were like little children when I was younger. So it's been a passion in my life, the young child. And I read all that I could and took classes. And I know it matters the way that we interact with them because they are not little adults, and to protect childhood is so important. So I was just drawn into this field from my own passion and interest in the young child.
Thanks. Did your understanding and attunement to child guidance come from within, or from a mentor, or both?
I would say, first of all, from within. And because I was seeking knowledge in this field, I did have some wonderful mentors, mainly in the Waldorf education field, and also just observing mothers or people that worked with children that I admired, the ones that showed the young child a lot of respect. And so I think I've been collecting information about that all of my life. And I wanted to strive to be the best person that I could be for my own children.
You know, it's interesting asking her these questions that really I've never asked her before, and it took somewhat of a formality for these questions to unfold. And I sit here with my beloved wife and friend, and we've shared parenting for how many years with our youngest kid? Or our oldest kid?
Yeah. Let's see, well, around 40 some odd years.
Yeah, so it's and we've gone through our machinations as parents because we were both brought up with different perspectives, and it's been a journey for us to come together in a mutual understanding of what is best for our kids, and the respect for each other has grown immensely over the years that we have been parents and an evolving couple. And I say that I truly appreciate the guidance, the counsel, and the heartfelt wisdom of my beloved partner, because she's really helped me step up and out of some limited behaviors with which I was brought up in from my parents, who did the best they could do, It's just that we evolve, we learn, we grow, and I'm fortunate that I was able to connect with you.
Thank you.
All right. A significant chapter in your life journey unfolded with your introduction to Rudolf Steiner and the Waldorf approach to education and children. Please share with us the value of Steiner's work and the Waldorf perspective for childcare and education.
Yes. Well, I was very impressed. The first lecture that I went to on conscious parenting spoke of we want to approach the child with the heart, head, and hands. And in most educational forums, it's just the academic part of them that we're addressing. So that impressed me very much, because children, we have to respect their emotional life also. And we want full human beings, not just people that can spit out facts and figures. And so that was very much touched me, that we want to educate and treat them in a way that develops the whole child. And the other thing that I was very much impressed of is what a strong point they made about protecting childhood. Because in our culture today, it's almost like children are treated as little adults, which they are not. They need to be surrounded in that world of wonder and awe when they're very young, and take that out into the world. And they're going to learn all those facts and figures along the way, but at least we can try to hold them in a way that protects their childhood and imagination and creativity, and surround them in beauty as much as possible out in nature, and places we will take them as parents to beaches. Mostly I'm thinking of places in nature, but there's so many ways to surround them in beauty. And yeah, I think that was the main part that I got from Waldorf education.
Who tuned you into Rudolf Steiner and Waldorf? How did you come about with that introduction?
I think I was driving by the Rudolf Steiner College sign, not that far from my home, and I was pregnant with my first child, and I'd heard something about it before. So I drove in and got some books and started reading. And the more I read and discovered about Rudolf Steiner education, the more it resonated with me of the way to raise a healthy and happy child.
Thanks, Janna.
Mm-hmm.
What are 2 to 3 recommendations you would give for parents?
Well, I think the happiest children have happy parents, parents that also take care of themselves, because it is a all-consuming endeavor to raise children. So I think sometimes we forget about ourselves in our quest to be very good parents to our child or children. So number 1, remember to make time for yourself also.
What does that, I've got to ask you, what does that mean, to make time for yourself? Because we oftentimes think we're doing just fine, and then we move along. So could you be a little bit more specific in regards to that, almost the sacred ritual of honoring who we are?
Yes, if you have a few moments in the morning for quiet, maybe meditation, that would be one way. Taking a day off and letting your parent or a grandparent or a babysitter take care of your child, so that you can create some time for you, because we don't want to get burned out, and that doesn't serve anyone. So that would be number 1, I think. Number 2 is to be playful. That's what I have always loved about the young child. They are so playful and enthusiastic, and laughter comes to them so naturally. So I think being playful is very important, which is hard to do if you haven't taken care of yourself. If you're just so tired that, that's not going to happen. Um, that's one reason I put that first, for parents to try to take care of their needs along the way as well and be playful. And then try as much as possible during the years that you're raising children to get into their world. And I wish more was written. I think there is a lot written now today on that idea of learning, like when they're very young and they like to say no, they're not being difficult. It's just a developmental stage. Some people don't know that, and they'll say, don't say no to me. But it would be odd if they didn't go through that stage. And then teenagers are really wrapped up in their own world, and that's also a developmental stage. So we don't want to use words like selfish and self-absorbed, because they need to do that before they can go out into the world and serve others. They need to kind of discover what is it that they want, and they're very much caught up in their own world. So there are different places that we need to know in life of how to support them to do that. And the way that I did that was reading as much as I could about child development and taking as many classes as I could from people that were very informed.
Thanks. I just realized I didn't put on my mic, so I trust that the first part of this interview worked.
It did, because it was right there.
All right. All right. Given my extensive privilege of the parenting experience with this amazing lady, I understand that the first 7 years are integral to developing a child. Those first 7 years provide a very formidable foundation for an individual's development over lifetime. So can you explain to us more fully what that means?
Yes, well, the young child, babies onward, they are taking in so many images, and it's the tone of our voice when we speak with them, to have warmth as much as possible, and to surround them in beauty, which I think I mentioned before, and to read to them, like the mother's voice, the father's voice is important to the young child, and to hold them, just the physical love, of cuddling them and being on the floor playing with them. And through the years, I would like to, I think, like my husband also, we have 3 children, so one-on-one time with them is important, and just giving to them and observing them, interacting with them on a little deeper level than when you've got, several children all together. So they thrive on that attention. And also catch them doing something. I mean, parenting will take everything you've got to be a really great conscious parent. So catch them doing something good, because there's sibling rivalry and behavior we don't want to encourage. So when you catch them doing something good, then comment on that and say, I really like the way you just shared your crayon with your sister or your brother, or I noticed how you helped your friend get up when they fell, and that just builds their self-confidence and makes a statement of the correct behavior. So instead of, the no's are easy, to come out of us, but instead of,
especially when we're impatient and we're attempting to get on with our own day, and forget that really our first priority is to honor the gift of our children, which
yes.
I certainly faltered many times in our life experience.
So instead of a steady diet of no, and we can catch them doing something good and the behavior that we want. So I would include that.
So just to be clear, on the first 7 years, the prominence of that being a number one focus is,
Well, it is.
What does it mean exactly?
Being worthy of imitation, because the children are always imitating us. And they don't really reach a stage, even in teenagehood, that's when, the parent, in their estimation, doesn't know much. But they are still imitating us as they go. And just to let you off the hook, the perfect parent doesn't exist. So it's our striving to be the kind of parent that we want to be respectful to them, and listening when they need to come to us with problems, to be aware and conscious of this is an important moment for them. And life goes quickly, so I'm not saying that's easy, but I'm saying it's worthwhile to try to strive to do that.
This question you may have already answered to a certain extent. How might our educational and cultural system evolve so parents have a more grounded and enlightened understanding of being a parent? What might we do societally, culturally, educationally, so that we understand a bigger picture of what a conscious parent is all about?
Yes, well, I think, and many years ago, the grandparents were there often in the same home to help raise children and to bring them into daily life chores and helping the parents. Often parents had to be off to work, and now that doesn't happen as much. So I would say if there are classes and there are like circles, I was in a mothering group when my children were young, and it really helped to be with other mothers and learn from them and see some of their challenges and feel not so alone, because it can be isolating, the parenting. And we want to come together either in classrooms or circles of, and I said a mothering group, but now I would say parenting group, because fathers are very involved today. And sometimes it's the father that's home with the child and the mother's out in the world working. So any way that you can get current information, and now we have the internet, which I'm not a part of so much, but I like to see that there's so much good information there. So that would be another source.
What are 3 sacred rules of parenting?
3 sacred rules. The first one that comes to me is rhythm. The way, it helps to have the same time of day for breakfast with the family if possible, and then also so meal times happen pretty much the same time each day, and then bedtimes also, by 8 o'clock our lights were out usually, depending on the age of the child, and to have a story before bed, just those rhythms that don't change, and the child can count on them. All of our children, are told to brush their teeth before bedtime, and just those little rhythms are very important. And
it would seem to me that those are integral to grounding our children, so that they're not all over the map in regards to their expressions.
Yes, children very much like to know what the expectation is and what they can count on. So any way that you have of putting rituals into your life, that really helps. Maybe every Wednesday and Saturday you take them to the park. Maybe in the evening you can go on a walk as a family, or just, you with the children. And they remember little things like that. So, yeah.
I know she was checking out my notes, and she wrote in here, so this might stir you. Be worthy of imagination, surround
imitation.
them.
I already said that.
Imitation. Surround them in beauty, nature, etc. Be playful and get into their world. Do not adulterize them. Yeah, you spoke to that.
Yeah, don't treat them as little adults, because childhood is sacred and it goes so quickly. And today I don't see as much protection around childhood as in the past. So I did want to mention, I think I mentioned all of those already.
Yeah.
So.
Still got it down after all these years, my dear. You guided a Waldorf preschool in our home for 20 years. And it was a Waldorf arts preschool. So why the arts? What's the significance of the arts?
Because children's play is their work, and they love color. And I did painting, which is called wet on wet, where you wet the art paper, and then only 3 colors when they're young: the blue, the red, and the gold. And they just like to see that color on a paper, and then it spreads out in a kind of magical way, very fluid, that the young child enjoys. But I had a art box for them with crayons, with good paper, with some paints, some stickers, fun, just so they're so creative at that age, and just given the materials, they are going to delight in that. And they also love baking. In my school, we would bake blueberry muffins in the morning, and they all participated in that.
And I was, and I knew when they baked blueberry muffins, because she knew to hold a couple for me. And they were good, most delicious each and every time.
I'm glad you were a fan of those. And at circle time, we did, the traditional rhymes and songs, and Itsy Bitsy Spider and all of that. But also, there came a time when children just laugh over anything. So we did something called, I'd call it laughter yoga. And it was just a delightful time, because the young child, that was just kind of honoring where they live. And often they're told, shh, when they start laughing. And there is a time that, they can't just laugh all the time. But this was giving permission to that.
How did that go?
Wonder of childhood. It was delightful.
No,
and
how did you make it?
I would just start laughing, and then, or one of them were already laughing, and I would just say, let's join in, because Noah is very happy about something. And anyhow, it was a fun thing to do with children, because that is part of their world. And they love the songs, and children are meant to be moving. So we weren't just sitting still. We'd get up and do lots of, marching songs. And
this is my wife today.
I love,
she still does
that about the young child, but they're expected to sit still at a pretty young age. So I think it's good to know that there are schools out there that embrace that, and in our daily life with children, we can encourage that.
So a question came to my mind while you were talking. What does a man bring to the table in child rearing as distinct from a woman, and what she brings to the table as a child, as a parent? What's the distinctive difference and value of each?
Yes, it's wonderful to have a father and a mother in the house, just with the male energy and female energy. I was also a single mother before I met David for a bit. And so then my brothers were there, if there's not a father in the house. And I think just like I would notice, my husband would be a little more active, like throwing the ball, and I would be a little, I don't know if that's safe. But the children love it, because they like to be adventurous, and they like to go out and maybe be pushed a bit, whereas I was more nurturing and protecting. So there's definitely a need for both. Yes.
As most of us are aspiring parents and grandparents, what is a foremost attitude that we want to instill in us or to develop in us so that we can connect with our kids or grandkids?
When they're young, I think being playful is very important. And it takes the adult out of that serious role that maybe they have to be in all day long. And so just getting on the floor, letting them crawl on you, or doing blocks. Our son used to love to make these little Nomi villages with his pieces of silk.
What's
and
a Nomi? What's a Nomi?
A Nomi is like a little dwarf. And they have many of those little doll dwarfs in Waldorf schools. But anything that you want to create with a young child. And I used to get on the floor and color with them. And so being playful, sometimes we forget to just be playful. We're so busy raising them. And I think that's a very important, to keep childhood alive in that way.
I'm just watching her right now. I mean, she's expressing the vibrancy and the sparkle that she does with kids because it's so deeply ingrained in you. And that's why I just honor the perennial, that the gift of perennial motherhood that you express with all the liveliness that makes it so rich. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. That was a lovely compliment.
Do you have any daily rites or rituals which are integral to living an intentional, loving, and present life?
Yes, especially when I had children, I would try to take a few moments in the morning, like a meditation, or to say my gratitudes or prayers. And then I would also try to get in bed early so that I was well rested. As you know, when you're raising children, working, you need your rest, and often we don't get enough. So I would definitely try to do that, and then go outside with the children, without them, and just, let nature gives back. And we were blessed to have parks nearby, and it was definitely, my days would go better when I would remember those 3 kind of rituals.
Going outside.
Meditation in the morning,
yes.
Or a little time to say gratitudes, and getting into bed early,
yes.
And then spending some time out in nature.
All right.
Those were 3 I tried to do.
Yeah. What practices and outlooks shall we encourage in children so that they can become conscientious stewards of our planet? Because the way I look at child rearing is that we are, we're bringing forth that with which we were brought up, and hopefully we continue to grow, to aspire, and we learn anew. And then we lift our children so they can be even more shining examples of conscious, caring, loving parenthood. So what are your recommendations for our children, and our grandchildren to step it up even further in regards to their embrace of each other and the planet?
Well, as I said earlier, children are always imitating us. So kind words are very important, because they are going to go out into the world and speak, what they learn at home or at school. And it's not a perfect world, so it's a striving. And not to say that we haven't flown off the handle or something, that words that aren't so appropriate for children. But to see kindness expressed towards animals or towards those less fortunate, and to hear adults speak kindly of each other, and go out into the world and do good deeds. Our son somehow when he left the house, he was living in another town, and he just started going out and picking up litter. And I don't think he saw us doing that, but anyhow, it was a kind thing he said he wanted to do for Mother Earth. So that made me very happy that, and some people do much bigger projects in the world, and bring your children along when you're doing things that are important to you for the planet. My husband went to a food kitchen where you fed the homeless, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at Christmas time, we would sometimes go, years ago, to an older living place for adults and sing songs to them and leave teddy bears. And so our children remember that, and they really liked doing that. So that's what comes to mind right now.
Wow, thanks. We don't realize the difference we make in how we hold ourselves each and every day. And I keep learning that. At 72 years old, I am still aspiring to be as conscious and as grounded and as caring a human being as I can be. And so I trust that my grandchildren and my children continue to learn from the example I am, and they certainly do from the example that you manifest in respect to your brightness, your lightness, your sparkle, and your loving kindness.
Thank you.
Any final recommendation you have for people to live an enriching life?
I think our own self-development is important, to make time for that, so we can, enrich ourselves, and then that radiates out into the world. And with working and all that, the lifestyle today demands, I don't think it's easy, but I think it's very important. And we have carved out time to do things like that, to develop our spirit more deeply, so that hopefully that helps our children, grandchildren, and others to do it as well.
When you speak to those, the different steps we've taken, I think of the traveling that we've experienced domestically and internationally, the being involved with a spiritual path, and then having the kids involved in the spiritual path through Sunday school and through teen group, and then going to speakers and reading books that continually that then we share with our kids, or we share with the fellow adults, that are gifts for each and every one of us to take the next step forward. So I guess just noting how that I'm thinking about the inner child within us, that it never dies. And so that quest for growth, that quest to inspire and be inspired, it comes from deep within and goes way back. And if we lose that, our thirst for living and for sharing and for acting and embracing, then we're done.
That's a good point, because David didn't have playful parents. And so his childhood was pretty serious, but he's having his childhood now. Like, he laughs and he's animated and he does, what he wants in a moment, that's maybe just very in the moment, like children do, and you're saying, wait a minute. But so, yeah, we can have our second childhood or our first childhood at any age, and try to let go of some of those things that our parents didn't know how to do very well, and let them go, and take it from today to bring what you would have liked in your childhood into your present day. So that was a good point.
So thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
And thank you, my beloved. I'm going to give you a kiss because you're worth it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessings.